All right, everybody, and we are back again. It's another week. It's another episode of And the Year Was 1985, and this week is a special week. It's Spooky Week. The best.
As you can see by these lovely lights set up here.
The lighting, Ryan Snow with the lighting. And as you can see on our screen, we got a very special guest. So this week we got Lindsay Janes on from Disturbing the Peace podcast. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, you're a local podcaster, right? So we had to get in some sort of contact here, get a cross promote a little bit here, right?
Yeah, and it's
well, I appreciate you spreading the love. I'm all about it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Lindsay. I am the host, creator, producer of Disturbing the Peace, which is a podcast about the Peace region and its secrets. That's the logo. You can find me on Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your content. It's true crime, conspiracy theories, paranormal, historical information from the Peace region. But sometimes I go out of bounds and try to do some different stories as well.
Yeah, like I think it's a lot to do with the Peace region, and we're in Grand Prairie, so kind of the whole region, the whole northwest Alberta and stuff like that. And in essence, it kind of has that spooky kind of feeling to it, even though it's true and true crime. Of course,
makes it worse
when it comes to people getting killed. That's kind of spooky.
That's a bit spooky.
So it kind of is fitting that you're here for the start of spooky season on And the Year Was 1985. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. It's our favorite time
spooky
of year.
Spooky season is my favorite. So that's probably part of the reason why true crime has always been my jam. I actually think that true crime is almost less scary than horror, though. I'm not super into, like, jump scares. That kind of stuff's just not from this kid right here. I'm way too anxious for that. But yeah, true crime, for some reason, just like the investigative side of it and the psychological side of it, that's the part that interests me.
I know and that is it too. Like it brings out the detective in us, you know, how, the why, the who, right? It gives us, you know, and then it gives us usually a conclusion, right? So it's not like a horror movie where you never know what's going on.
Yeah.
You'll kind of, exactly, the jump scares and stuff like that. The true crime gives you the who, what, where, and sometimes the why.
Every now and then, but not very often. Right. I was watching some Unsolved Mysteries today. Some of those, that's the one, like, so it's like true, but of course you don't get to see always what, you know, how the end result. I mean, some of these were like from like 1991 or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting.
Well, and how many times do you watch Unsolved Mysteries? So I'm a big Unsolved Mysteries fan. But like almost every episode, you almost forget you're watching Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
So then it ends and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How long do I need to wait to find out what happened?
Yeah.
Right. And it's probably worth looking into to see if any of these have been solved. Since I know there's a new updated version of Unsolved Mysteries that's out now, but I'm a fan of the old classics with Robert Stack as the host.
Yeah.
And you know how everyone has their show to like watch as they go to bed. Well, like that's my fiance and I. That's our show that we're into right now. I go to sleep listening to that theme music. So, like it was super scary at first, but now I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of getting, you know, I'm getting used to the fact that I'm falling asleep to this shit now. So it's like,
I found the same thing with X-Files.
Well, that's kind of how true crime gets you. It creeps in that way. It kind of goes like, oh, you know, maybe that's not really my thing. And then you get super like involved in the actual story of what's going on. And then you find yourself super invested and maybe content you wouldn't have necessarily thought you were going to enjoy.
Yeah. And you've been doing your podcast since January. Is it 17, 18 episodes right now?
Yeah, so 18 episode just went out tonight, the night we're recording.
Oh, nice.
And this one is called Tall Tales. It's all about like a couple conspiracy theories, some UFO sightings in Grand Prairie, and a couple of things that I've experienced that are just a little odd.
Ooh, do tell.
Do tell, yeah. Speak to us a little bit about that, if you would mind, Lindsay.
Okay, so have you guys ever heard of the noise in the woods?
Like the well, I don't know. I guess what I've heard, I guess, which I would say would be like that humming or whatever it is. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Whatever word I'm trying to say.
Okay, so
Okay.
in like 2009 to 2012-ish, there was like an internet phenomena happening, and a lot of the videos are actually from like Banff, northern British Columbia, and it is just this very odd noise. And in my episode, I compare it to Dory doing the humpback whale impression, or like almost like two ships have kind of scraped across each other. It's a very hollow, like metal sound. It's quite odd. But I've actually experienced it twice.
No way.
Yeah. And the first time was right here in GP. So my parents live just on the outside of city limits. And so when I was still living with them, I would walk from their home kind of all the way down Resources to a bus stop on 68th Ave. So quite a jaunt. But in that walk, I walked past like a forested area and a golf course. And it was like right there that I heard it the first time. Now, there is a train yard right there. So I do want to acknowledge that it could have been that, but it didn't. There was just a way that it resonated with me, that it didn't sound like a train. I've lived here my whole life and in this area. Yeah. So there was just something different about it that really spooked me out. And then a couple years later, I would say 2010, I was on my way to Edmonton, and between Valley View and Whitecourt, I stopped at a rest stop and heard it again. Again, I'm just off a highway. Could it have been a truck? Could it have been an accident? I don't know. But again, it hit me the same way that the sound 2 years ago had hit me. And I started kind of looking it up and was like, oh my God, that sounds exactly like what I heard. So there's a few theories on what it might be, but it is very odd.
Yeah, I know what you're I don't know a lot about it, but I know what you're I do know what you're talking about.
I've seen some videos, I guess viral videos, I guess you would say, but I've never experienced it myself. I think that would be quite sketchy. A little,
I would say,
give me the heebie-jeebies right here.
Yeah, it's so loud that it like reverberates in your chest. Like, you know, when you're at a concert and you're standing maybe just a little too close to stage, and every time the kick drum goes off, you feel it in your rib cage. That's kind of what it felt like.
Oh, damn.
Crazy. That's nuts. I didn't think it was like well, I didn't know it was like that, because that's, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I've read, it was kind of similar to what you're saying, like almost like it's like a low pitched screeching noise or whatever.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of that stuff. That's pretty creepy.
I'm trying to think if I actually have it.
I do. Yeah,
I might.
I live not too far from the train yard too, so it's like you can kind of hear them, whether or not it's the braking as they're coming together, and then you can hear the two cars smashing together, and it's like, yeah, that's a totally different thing. But the brakes, it's like,
squeaky, scrappy.
I'm sure the people will love to hear just do that. But
want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
We could try. That would be really great content for those wearing headphones. Just freak them out a little.
But yeah, so like that's half of the thing though, like, because you never know if it's real, if it's a true like unidentified thing, or is it or is it someone playing a little prank.
Well, that's the thing. So, like, I seen a video the other day of it's a new video, of course, of freaking Bigfoot.
Oh,
which I haven't seen a Bigfoot thing in a long time, but I was quite impressed because I was like, shit, I have kind of forgot about Bigfoot.
Damn.
But it was like a Bigfoot throwing stuff around in the woods, of course, caught by a trail cam or whatever.
Oh.
But it's like I don't know, I'm watching it the first time and I'm kind of like, holy shit, crazy. And then I watched it a couple more times. I was like, fuck, I don't know about this. Like, yeah, I don't know. But I love shit like that. Like, I love it. So what originally got you into, I mean, like, not necessarily true crime, but kind of like, you know, the unsolved mystery, unsolved, unknown kind of stuff?
Oh, my sister actually she's 3.5 years older than me, and she's kind of always been into it. Like, I remember when we were kids, she watched Unsolved Mysteries and stuff, and it didn't freak her out. She's super into horror. So she's kind of always had that little bit of an influence on me growing up. But like I said, I'm a very anxious person. So I was not really like into horror and gore quite as much as she was. So I kind of found my playing field kind of right in the middle of that, where I'll listen to the stuff about gore. I just don't want to hear it. And then it was really over COVID when I was still working from home, but there's nobody around and I don't have anybody to talk to. So the perfect thing to do is listen to podcasts. And so that got me super, super, super into true crime, especially true crime that comes with that like historical aspect.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite podcasts is Dark Poutine.
Oh, yeah.
And they're out of BC. And they tell true crime stories from all over Canada. And quite often they're not recent. I would say they're at least like 2014 or later. And just the way that he tells the stories, he really goes into the history of like the town it happened in, what the economy was like, what that person did for a living. And you kind of get this really cool background story within the crime story that I just really liked the perspective of. So that was the first one that I was like, "Ooh, I'm into this. I like this."
And I have listened to a few of those Dark Poutine ones as well. Like, I like them on like road trips and stuff like that. You can just listen to a few back to back. I think the last one I listened to was like the train robber guy who was in like Abbotsford or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It was. But yeah, so I think we might even follow them on our Instagram as well. But
I think so.
But I do enjoy the research and the kind of it's almost like a history lesson as well.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, like, how long do you pre-plan your episodes, and how much, like, is there a cutoff point where you're like, hey, I'm too deep into this. This might be like a 5-part episode, or how do you get it all together?
I have the talent of being able to, I wouldn't say speed read, but read very, very quickly. And so I'm lucky in the sense, very blessed in the sense that I can take a lot of content in a very short period of time. I think the episode or the story that took me the longest is actually way back at the beginning. Episode 2 is done in 2 parts. And there's a reason for that. That episode was a lot of research, but I really wanted to do it justice. It's a very interesting story, and you want to be able to tell both sides without giving too much away. Essentially, 2 doctors in Fairview have a professional conflict, and one of them ends up dead, and the other one ends up charged with murder. So, yeah. But no body's ever been found. He doesn't admit to doing it, and so there's quite a bit of mystery still around the story. And so I wanted to make sure that I told Doug Snyder's point of view, the point of view of the victim, but also Abraham Cooper's point of view of the accused. And so that took a decent amount of research, and plus it happened at a time where it's not on the internet. So it took a lot of archives, newspapers. His sister, the victim's sister, wrote a book, and a couple of other things that I did. So that one is probably the one that took the most like sweat equity and the most time. And I'd say that one took about a month of pretty steady evening, probably 3 or 4 hours a night-ish on research and writing. I write my scripts, so there's also a kind of a side quest of writing an essay while I'm also, it's essentially what it is. 10 to 14 pages long every episode. It's quite detailed. So I'd say about a week or 2 of really pounding the pavement and making it a priority for every episode. But I try to always be 3 or 4 episodes ahead. So, I'm usually doing 2 or 3 cases at a time, and that's where the reading fast comes in.
Yeah, like you said, it's local stuff. It's not readily available on the internet. You can't just type in and just get everything you need. Like, you'd have to dig a little deeper, newspapers, whatever, so on and so forth. Like, yeah, that takes a lot of effort.
It takes some time. And not to flex, I also have 2 children and work full time.
Well,
so
you were putting the work in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I put the work in. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, and it takes a lot of effort to do a podcast. You know what I mean? It just to do it regardless of what you're trying to accomplish. Like, even just that much alone is hard sometimes. So no, it's awesome, and it's great to see that it's doing well, and it's super cool. I started listening to it again. because I got through a few pods and then I got off it again and then started listening again the other day. Of course,
As
leading up
we
to
all
this.
do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it was same thing. I mean, I got kids and stuff going on too. So yeah, but it was you can tell too. You're getting a little more comfortable. Everything is coming together. Yeah, it's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah,
And you just released some merch too,
Yeah.
like you said.
Got some merch going now.
I did.
Plug
yes,
that-
so you
plug
can
that
order
up.
your very own T-shirt.
Nice.
You're not going to be able to see that, but it says "Stay Disturbed" on the back of it, which is sort of like a tagline. I sign off every episode with it. But yeah, I'm really excited. I also
Oh snap!
have mugs.
Snap!
Ooh,
Snap!
nice.
That's cool. Actually, like it.
I like that.
Yes.
We need a couple of those.
And more to
We
come.
gotta get them.
So I'll hook you guys up. You'll be fine.
Perfect. Wicked.
But yeah, I've got a couple things coming up and I wanted to make sure that I had a way to represent myself in that kind of way. So the kind of downside to merch is the upfront cost of doing so. So that's always fun. But I thought it would be worth it. So I've got the folktales thing coming up at the museum, and afterwards I have kind of like a table for people to meet and greet. So I wanted to make sure, I've got some stuff for them to hook themselves up with if they so choose.
Yeah.
Some swag.
Absolutely.
Some swag, yeah.
Like it.
And hopefully I'll have toques soon. I really want to find a way to make them like, I'm giving away trade secrets here. But like to make it a balaclava, so you flip it down.
Yeah.
Just to kind of be like true crimey.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah,
That'd be sick.
Exactly. Gotta tie it all in.
There you go.
Tie it
Marketing.
Marketing, tie it all in. Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
Awesome.
I may or may not have a marketing background.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So
Damn, you're ahead of the game. We're behind the game.
We
We're
are.
still learning as we go. We don't know.
we tried the
shit.
bird
Oh,
stick a
there's
couple
a
times.
lot
but
I
it's a
don't
little
know,
aggressive.
and that's the reason I don't do a video podcast. Lord help me. If I tried to do that, I'd have one episode a year. Like it would be, oh God.
Yeah, it's fun though.
It's yeah. I sometimes wonder why are we doing this? But hey,
But here we are, having fun on the internet, doing fun stuff.
I'm just letting people
I
just
do that
watch us.
sometimes
Yeah.
when I'm like rendering an episode and end up having to re-record 20 minutes of dialogue. That's when I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, or post an totally unedited video of our
Totally
podcast.
did that today. Yeah, totally did that today.
Did you? Oh my goodness. I didn't see it, but that's amazing.
Yeah, totally did that. So I had to put that back.
I
in the
had an
drafts to edit, put
episode
it back
where I
in.
was supposed to, like, it was a really touching thing, and I was supposed to leave a moment of silence in it, and I forgot to leave the moment of silence.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
look
just
at you.
said, let's have a moment of silence, and then kept talking. So that was a great editing fumble.
Oh, that's the learning. That's the
That's the
learning
part of doing it yourself. This is the DIY portion right there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But that's okay. So Lindsay, so now that you're, we were on the pod, and we'll change it onto not a different topic necessarily, but we'll get into some pop culture-y stuff. So like when you were growing up, what kind of spooky TV were you involved in?
Okay, so like I said, for lack of a better term, I was a bit of a puss. So I really, really enjoyed Goosebumps.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then Freaky Friday. Do you guys remember that with like
I
the
do
little
remember
maggot
Freaky- Yeah,
that would
Friday.
tell like animated
Yeah.
stories? Freaking loved that show. And then for like movie wise, I was super into The Craft and Hocus Pocus. I saw The Cable Guy thinking it was going to be a funny Jim Carrey movie, and
That's a
I
good
think
show.
I was like 9 and absolutely horrified.
Oh,
So-
Good shout out, actually. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
It's
that
so
was a fun
good.
experience.
Super creepy towards
Oh,
the end.
it's such
It
a
starts
good
so
movie now,
happy.
but at
Starts
9
so
years
good.
old, oh my god.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely didn't help your anxiousness, I guess, watching that movie, because
Probably.
that was kind of a weird.
It takes
Definitely
a,
nine
takes a
is
weird
young.
twist, right? Like once the obsession, starts to really show off, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like once it gets a bit hairy, to where I don't want to spoil it for people. I don't know how old the movie is, whatever we're talking now, 20 odd years ago or whatever. But like when it kind of starts to take the twist towards the end and stuff, like yeah, it gets really weird. Like I remember seeing it the first time, like first when it came out on VHS. Back in the old days.
Ooh, yeah.
back in the day. So I remember renting it, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a funny movie," because, of course, Napster, and there was the clip of him singing
If you somebody to love,
yeah,
doing the karaoke.
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
That's like the funniest
because
part
that's
of the movie.
that's on the soundtrack or whatever, right?
Yeah,
so like that got released on Napster early. And I was like, oh, it's gonna be funny or whatever, like that kind of a thing. And it kind of was advertised kind of that way, and then it wasn't as happy. But it's a wicked movie.
Yeah,
It's my favorite movie.
I was reminded of it the other day. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about movies as children that you like accidentally watched thinking that it was going to be okay and it absolutely terrified you, or that was marketed for children and was just already terrifying. And the cable guy came up and I had to watch it.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I guess I was a little bit older when it came out, but even still, it was like I remember being kind of freaked out by it, but also like, this is awesome. Kind of like Donnie Darko, similar. I got the similar thing out of that or whatever. Like once I started to catch on what was going on, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is super creepy and weird, but same kind of scary to me or whatever. But I used to be really into like gore, like super gore stuff. I was big into vampire stuff. I used to really enjoy like when Interview the Vampire was big on my radar, and John Carpenter's Vampires is like one of my favorites. And Vampire in Brooklyn, so good with Eddie Murphy. Like that's so good. That's a really good movie. And it was kind of controversial at the time because I remember being able to watch it. It was the first time that I remember seeing like nudity, really remembering nudity in a movie. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Here, this, and I was probably too young to be watching
Why
that
are
movie.
people naked?
Yeah, because the 90s were like the horror scene in the 90s for a lot of movies. There was a lot of gratuitous nudity. For no reason. Like for no reason there'd be nudity kind of thing. But yeah, it's funny now that I think of it. But that was one of the first ones I remember. But yeah, I was big into that kind of stuff. But like TV stuff, like remember the Simpsons stuff was a big, like iconic through the 90s and stuff like that. And I mean, even to now, of course, right? So like
and their like references to horror films are like brilliantly done. And the stuff with Sideshow Bob, I don't know why, but that's just my favorite stuff. He was always to me like and like keep in mind I was 10, but he was always to me like attractive. I liked Sideshow Bob, and there was something about him being a creepy motherfucker that I just really liked.
It must have been the voice.
I always knew that if he was on, it was going to be good.
They were good episodes, though. I will say that I like that Bert and him Bravo thing. You know what I mean? Like it kind of.
What was the guy's name who played that voice? Frasier.
It was Frasier and what's his name that plays Niles? The two of
them Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Kelsey Grammer, but he's got the good voice. Yeah, it was good. But Treehouse of Horrors. That was the best because that's when we got introduced to the two aliens, Kang and Kodo.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And like you said, they did such great remakes because in that first Treehouse of Horrors too, they did the Raven. So that Edgar Allan Poe.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things.
Nevermore,
Homer
right?
narrating it.
The what now?
Homer narrates that episode, and I love it.
It's a great episode.
It's so funny.
Because it's like early 90s too, right? And like Marge comes out and says, now you might want to put the kids to bed or whatever. Like it's going to be a scary story, and it's funny because it's Bart and Lisa. They're going back and forth telling stories in the treehouse, and like Homer's like listening on, like like what's going on, and then they go into each story, and it's like, I thought it was a great episode, and like it came on. What was that? Probably.
It's season 2 is the first one.
Yeah,
I know that because I was watching them the other watching them the other day.
I mean, what would that? That would be
so
like
God,
1990.
That had to be like I was gonna say 1992, maybe.
Yeah, it's early.
Oh yeah. Because it was after like the first, not really technically the first season, where it's kind of like what was it on? Whatever it was on Fox, I guess, or whatever. It was kind of poorly drawn, like the first.
Yeah, the animation was
it was
so
the first
weird.
real season of it, kind of thing. So the second season of it then is when it comes. This is the first episode, and then it's one every season until 7 or something like that.
That's it.
There was a year they did do 2.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that.
It was like a 2-parter, and it was like 2 episodes. One aired in the week of Halloween, and then one aired after the week of Halloween.
Oh yeah, because the lead up to
I don't remember which show it was though.
No, I can't remember now either, but I do because I remember seeing that the other day when I was sifting through them just to see which ones were which. But there used to be a big lead up to all that stuff. Remember they'd like advertise it. You'd see advertisements like leading up to that episode coming on, and it would be like giving you snippets and tidbits, and everybody put on a Halloween episode, right? So you could watch the weekend before Halloween. It would just be like from Friday to Sunday would be nothing but Halloween stuff.
I would love that, like the TGIF Halloween
specials.
Oh man,
TGIF was my favorite.
That's the jam right there.
Oh yeah, going home to watch Steve Urkel.
That's right.
Get watch Nurgle and Sabrina Teenage Witch, and because it became a bunch of stuff at one point. Like it kind of changed. Like the shows changed over time.
Yeah, it was like Boy Meets World, Sabrina, Family Matters.
That's right.
Yeah, and then there was a couple. What was the later ones too? Because then they used to do a movie. No, that was on Sundays. To do the movie. What was the
Sunday night movie.
There was a late night show. It's not a late night show, but it was like a show. You know what I mean? There was a little bit more teenagery than kids or whatever kids oriented, but I can't remember what it was. But there used to be a lot of family content back then. Like everybody would sit around the TV, watch, and everybody would watch that stuff. Would look forward to the Halloween episodes, the Christmas episodes, or whatever. Right? There would be a lot of lead up to it, or whatever you want to say.
I was actually a big fan of the Home Improvement Halloween episodes.
That's a good call.
Oh my god! I love Home Improvement.
I had to throw one in there.
That's a good one.
Tim the Tool
Patricia was like my first girl crush. I had a massive crush on the wife in that show.
Patricia Richardson.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
her and Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. Oh, snap.
A little Twister.
A little bit of Twister.
She was in Twister, right?
action. A little Mad About You.
Mad About You.
Oh yeah.
That's a great show.
That's a good show. That's a good one. I like that. That's a good throwback. I like that.
Yeah, Paul Reiser.
Oh yeah.
Deep cuts.
Pulling them out here now.
This is how we're just flying off. Take a detour. Just flew off.
I was gonna say, Mad About You has absolutely nothing to do with Halloween specials.
I know. Yeah. No.
Did they even have one? They might have, because it was in the 90s. Because it started in the 90s.
Yeah.
Not that I recall.
Probably not. No, something like that probably wouldn't. I guess now to say that out loud.
I think I got all. The Home Improvement ones are great. I gotta watch those. I'm gonna watch those.
Yeah, I never even thought about them.
They're on the docks.
They're on the docks.
Yeah, I posted them on the docks, but I posted it like last year. So.
Oh well.
Not new.
Not new content, but it will be. But yeah, I'm gonna watch those. I'll watch those with the kids. That show reminded me a lot of my house for some reason, like in a funny way. Like not necessarily like that's the way my house was, but it kind of had that. I don't know. It felt more relatable for some reason. I have no idea why, but something that was funny to me. That show was really good.
Yeah, it felt like really realistic that their dad was on TV. Like they didn't make it like this thing that he was like a celebrity. Yeah. He was just like a local TV host. Yeah. I really like those
that way.
The subtleties to it.
Yeah, it's a good show. It was interesting. It's a good call, Ryan. You got me all nostalgic here thinking about it now.
Oh yeah. I know they have some real good ones. Like with Wilson was involved in one of them. Yeah. I can't recall right now because it's not fresh in the brain.
There's one they had the Christmas. Remember, there's one they had the party or whatever, and people end up like fake dying or whatever it is, and then it's like a. I can't remember what the hell it was now.
They did like a murder mystery.
Yeah. I'm getting like snapshots now as I'm thinking about it. But yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that was a really good episode too. Actually, now I say that, I'm gonna have to freaking watch that and pull that up when I go home.
Yeah, I'm gonna just check somewhere. It's in there somewhere. I can't. Whatever.
We'll find it after. We'll put it at the front. We'll talk about it in the next episode.
Next episode.
But what's another? So in terms of movies, like because there was a lot of 90s, like I guess horror came up in the 90s again. Like it started as like late 80s B stuff because it came from Friday the 13th. That was kind of like the big stuff, and then it kind of died out a little. And then we got kind of a bunch of horror movies and gore kind of became popular when Saw kind of came out and whatever. But Scream was a big humongous.
I was gonna say
Scream was a huge
one that I was able to handle. Scream. There was just something about it that didn't bother me as much. I found it very, very interesting and funny, and it threw humor in every once in a while, which was really interesting that I liked.
Yeah.
I did get a kick out of Dewey, the Officer Dewey.
Officer Dewey.
And he was great comedic. Whatever.
Bit of relief or whatever.
His whole character was comedic relief. Yeah
right. So, but one of probably the greatest opening scenes to a horror, for lack of a better term, or thriller movie, like the opening scene with the phone call.
Especially at the time, it was
right. It really builds that suspense, right?
Yeah, because I remember seeing the first one in theater.
Oh shit!
And like being like, "This is fucking sick." Like, and I was kind of really I was into the horror thing, like really deep into it at that point. And I was like, "Holy shit!" They're bringing back horror movies, like kind of like, you know what I mean, like camp horror movies kind of thing, right? Where it's like summer camp or whatever bullshit, that kind of stuff or whatever. Like those kind of teen oriented horror movies, like with just the right amount of gore and the right amount of whatever. Yeah, I like that. And same thing with Know What You Did Last Summer, because those kind of came out right around the same time. The first two, like the original two of those, were kind of came out around the same time, because it was a big deal that there was like the horror, two of these big horror brands kind of coming up at the same time, and that kind of sparked a lot of stuff. So that was pretty cool. I think that Scream was a definitive '90s trilogy. There's like 7 of them or whatever now, but it's definitely a definitive '90s horror, I think,
Yes.
for us.
Scream is massive in pop culture too, right? So like you still see Scream masks sold on Halloween, and the first movie came out in 1996. So I mean, it's just kind of always held its place as like nostalgic 90s. I mean, I was 6 when that movie came out, so I didn't see it till much later. But pretty epic.
I remember, I watched that with my oldest brother and his girlfriend at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they were kind of watching me, I suppose. And
probably half babysitting.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess. And I was kind of nervous at first because, like, I'm a puss too when it came to horror movies. So I was just like, kind of nervous, but it was like good. Like you actually got into the movie, even at a young age, right? So, and shout out to Wes Craven, right? So he directed the first 4, I believe, or maybe even more. But like, for him to go through the 80s, 90s with Nightmare on Elm Street to pivoting over to Scream and creating a whole other series of horror movies, you know what I mean? Like just still legendary.
Still in the slasher film realm, like still sticks within that, but kind of an updated version of it, which was cool. Like, Scream was a big thing. Like when I remember it was a big deal to me. Like I loved those movies. Like as weird as it sounds, watching people kill people, but
no,
it's like good. They were wicked. Like they're wicked movies. I watched them the other day. It's so good.
I think there's also something to be said for like the cast, like watching people kill people. The cast was incredible. Like you've got Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox. Oh my God. David Arquette.
David Arquette. That's what I was looking for,
Jamie Kennedy.
Drew Barrymore's in one of them. Skeet Ulrich's in it. Like, it's a great cast. All 3 movies.
Then what's that other woman who was here at the Grand Con last year? Rose
McGowan.
Rose McGowan.
Oh, Rose McGowan. Yes, I forgot
that's
about that.
Right.
Yeah, she's in it too.
I keep thinking she's in. I Know What You Did Last Summer, but that's
the kid from Scooby Doo. What was his name? I forget.
Yeah, he's wicked too. Oh man, I got
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah,
that's it. I was just about to say it's like Matt something.
But that's another one too. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like it, every movie has a spin-off version of whatever, and I think that was kind of almost parallel for a little while.
Oh yeah, I think so. It was like had its own thing going on, but same idea, like it was kind of like the Freddy versus Jason and Friday the 13th kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like similar enough, but different. Different directors.
Well, it was kind of like on that line of like bringing back, like you said, Sam, the like horror movies with teenagers, right? So, it's kind of like gentle horror. And that also had a great cast too. It had Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Ryan Felipe. Like, great cast.
Arguably,
and a lot of those people were in kind of not say like similar movies, but like some of them were in like Urban Legend and Final Destination and what's the other
Sarah
one?
Michelle Gellar goes on to do Buffy, right?
Buffy,
so,
keeps her in that stratosphere.
It's all similar, not roles, but similar content. You know what I mean? Like it's all kind of in the same vein or whatever. But for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So speaking of that, like I know. Like I watched it when it was coming out, kind of thing, as it was coming out. I'm not a huge, I'm not a humongous fan, but I did watch a lot of it growing up and stuff like that. Yeah. Very important. I'm assuming that you obviously are a huge fan. So what was Buffy to you growing up?
Well, I think kind of the show creators talks about it in such a great way, where he talks about, finding like a female protagonist who's not in need of saving. She's not a damsel in distress. She'll kick your ass. So I thought that was also really like formative for me, because that show was on, I think it came out when I was like 12 or 13. So right right in like my formative years too. So I just thought having a female protagonist on screen whose entire story wasn't about her love life or wasn't about some guy, it was about like saving the world, was not really seen that often. And so that was a huge part of it for me. But I also think like the cinematography, the set design, the makeup, I appreciate like a lot of that behind the scenes kind of stuff. And Buffy was really like the first show that I started getting into that kind of thing, the production side of it.
That's neat, because everyone has to have the hero, and it's not often that you see it's a woman who's strong and not the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Just
especially in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that was kind of what I think people liked about Scream. I don't know what you did last summer, like. You know what I mean? It wasn't, yes, they kind of played that up to a certain degree, but there was also strong female characters in these movies, leads or whatever, like they were very upfront, even if they weren't the main character necessarily. Like I found those movies had a lot of strong characters in them. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, this is the lead, like, there's ends up being villains and, all these kind of intermingled things, right? Like, yeah, it was a very strong time. But Buffy, I feel like it means a lot to a lot of people. It seems, in the pop culture way or whatever, and especially, when it comes to female leads and stuff like that, it's very interesting.
Well, I kind of look at it almost like a transition from like me really liking Thelma in the Scooby-Doo, like old Scooby-Doo animated stuff. I really liked that her character was like smart and kind of nerdy and maybe not the strongest, but was still of value. And then it kind of like, turned into Buffy, where you still have this like strong female lead who's quick on her feet and smart and has a good head on her shoulders but it can still be vulnerable. I don't know. I just really liked it.
Yeah. There was even a little bit of that in Scream too, where Neve Campbell's like, it's not like a 90s horror movie where the girl runs upstairs when she should have ran out the front door. And then she's talking to the phone, talking on the phone with the guy in the early on in the movie or whatever, the second scene or whatever like that. She kind of puts off this like, well, no, fuck you. Like, I'm not going to be scared of you. You're just on the phone or whatever. And then, of course, he comes out of the closet behind her. But, yeah, exactly. Like, she kind of has that more of a strong figure than just the girl who trips over the thing. And, I think that's played out.
Yeah.
She doesn't need someone to save her.
Yeah.
She can save herself.
That's right. You're damn right.
No, it's awesome. Like,
Girl power. As the only female here.
No, it's wicked. Like, and that's why I wanted to make sure I brought it up, because I know it is important. And I mean, it's a wicked show. Like, even regardless of whatever way you want to look at it, really good show. And I remember like watching the the original film. You know what I mean? Like the one from the '80s, like whatever was 87 or something like that, whatever it was. And I remember seeing that first before, like obviously before the show came out, but I do remember seeing that first and being like, oh, this is an interesting character. Like, but it was kind of like Weird Science. It kind of reminded me of stuff in that kind of vein where the female lead.
Well, didn't like the Archie comics also do like stuff with her? I thought she was an Archie comic.
I think so. Yes.
Too. Yeah. Okay.
I think so,
yeah. I think that's where I first saw her, because she was right around the time that they were also doing the Sabrina stuff.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. It is like I say, it's a bit of an older.
The premise is old, like
or whatever you want to say, but but even like in the 80s one, like I mean, yes, it's 80s, campy or whatever way you want to put it, but it's still, she's like the lead character, like same as like Weird Science. I mean, they make this beautiful woman, but she's also like the smart person. She's the voice of reason through the whole movie, like that kind of stuff, right? It's kind of reminded me of that kind of vibe or whatever. But the new, like the show was an upgrade to that even, right? Very cool to see.
It was like a reimagining of that story. I liked that they turned it into like a real life instead of an animated. I thought that was a really great way to do it, because it brought like a whole new audience. It kind of aged it a little bit. Yeah,
and it was I don't know, it was a really good like teenage show. I mean, you can watch it now and it doesn't really feel like a teenage show even necessarily. Like, I mean, it's vampires and shit like that or whatever, but like it doesn't really. I don't know. It's a really good story. I thought it was an excellent show. I will say that.
I can't remember what.
Oh yeah, I rewatched it a couple of times.
Was that like YTV at one point? Okay, I believe when I was younger, anyway. And then it was coming on, YTV. I think that was it. But it came on later somewhere else. But I can't remember what channel it was.
I think it like aired on the CW, which was like the States.
Yeah.
And then in Canada, I think it was definitely on YTV, Sam. I think you're right.
Yeah, I remember it being that, but I think it switched somewhere else, but I can't remember now, to be 100% honest. But I do remember watching on YTV at one point. YTV had all the.
I think Much Music had it like later. Like,
they did,
when Much Music started playing TV shows. They had it like in the late 2000s. They would play it in the nighttime.
Give it up.
In the nighttime. I don't know why I said that so awkwardly.
In the evening.
In the evening. But give it up for YTV though, because they had a little spooky flavor for, like, they had Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark? They,
and they would do Fright Night, right? So
Right.
they have their own special event, special nights or whatever we want to say, special weeks. Even like there was a whole 2 or 3 weeks leading up. Like as soon as October came, they changed everything to Halloween, and you know what I mean. It was more
yeah. They would change, like, do you guys remember the hit list?
Oh yeah,
hit list.
Tarzan and Dan.
Tarzan and Dan.
Yeah, the hit list would be like totally Halloweened out. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then they would do the zone and everything, and it would all be like spooky, and they would be playing like spooky soundtracks in the background and stuff like that. And they would always be dressed up.
Oh man!
And then they would do like I say, I think it would be like the weekend and Halloween night. They used to do something too. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like Halloween Fright Night or whatever it was called. But then they would do all Halloween episodes, because I remember that was the big deal. Go out trick or treating, get your big old bag of candy and your goodies, and then get home, and then you'd be able to catch the end of it, because there would be like special episodes of Goosebumps and special episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because they would have. I remember there was like events for Goosebumps where it was choose your own adventure, but it was the show. So then they would have 2 options or 3 options, and then they would show you the next scenes based on the next segment would be based on what you voted as and stuff like that.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it was all kinds of cool shit like that. YTV was wicked, man. They had their shit together.
YTV was awesome.
Yeah, very much like on par with Much Music. In my
it had the same
things,
vibe
but
for
stuff
sure.
going on, same idea going on.
Yeah, I wish there was something like that now. Hey, like now they just play the shows. Nothing.
I was gonna say CBC. I think even still plays Hocus Pocus on Halloween night.
Oh yeah,
They've done
that's
that
another
for
good one
like
too.
I love that movie.
20
That's
years.
another good
Well, I haven't seen it in a minute, but I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna watch it now.
I mean,
I just watched it the other day.
We're into the season now. We got to pick a new movie every night. So we love Halloween here at the house and stuff like that. We watch something else every night, and leading up to Halloween.
Yeah, I got like little kids. I mean, some little kids love Halloween.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's an excuse to watch it, because that's some of the best episodes and the best movies are kind of based around, those memories and that bit of nostalgia, and like kind of like I love showing my kids. Not so much my older one, because he doesn't really care, but the younger one, like stuff when I was a kid, like his age or whatever. Like you can now find all those shows and stuff again or whatever. Like showing him that stuff and seeing how excited he gets. He loves Halloween too. It's his favorite.
Does he watch? Oh my God, it's gone. I was just thinking of it, and it's gone. Oh my goodness.
Are you dressing up for Halloween this year? You?
I'll think of it.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, probably, yeah. I don't dress up with the kids and go out or whatever, because I let them do their thing, but we'll probably be wearing something full this year for the final Halloween episode, because it comes out on Halloween, I think.
That's right. How about you, Lindsay, dressing up this year?
Yeah. So my coworkers always go as like a group costume, so we're doing Where's Waldo at work.
Oh, nice. I like it.
But afterwards, my son, he's 3, and has a very mature taste. He absolutely loves everything Jurassic Park.
Oh, sick.
So my son and my daughter are going as dinosaurs, and then I'm going as Dr. Oh my God, I'm gonna forget her name right now. But anyways, my husband and I are gonna go as like park rangers essentially.
Oh,
okay.
Nice. I see.
I was gonna say, what's that guy's name on?
And we are like taking our son's wagon and like building it like a cage.
Oh,
so
nice.
it looks like
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be sick, actually.
We're going all out.
Yeah. It's Halloween. You got to.
I can't remember. Yeah, I was thinking of the guy's name on the first episode of the first movie, Jurassic Park, when he wears like leather and all like black jeans and stuff.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Goldblum character, yeah.
Yes. Well, that's a Halloween costume for me.
That's a Halloween costume for you right there, sir.
He plays
Yeah, like
Malcolm.
I like when he takes his glass off. He's like, "Wow, that's a big pile of shit."
He's so good. He's Jeff Goldblum and everything he does, I think, but he's so good, man. Because he's in Independence Day too. It's super funny in that.
Oh yeah.
Super funny in that. That's another one of my favorite movies. Fucking I love Independence Day. Yeah. I don't know if that's really.
He's also just in like a lot of random stuff too.
He
Like
sure
he'll do
is.
3 episodes and then be gone again.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's one of my favorite actors. Like he's one of those like kind of like a Keanu Reeves or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? Like shows up, beats himself, and leaves.
Yeah.
I hate
Exactly.
Keanu Reeves. I don't know why. But do you ever like
He's too nice.
I don't hate him. Like I don't think he's not talented, but there's just something about like his face on the screen that I'm like, no.
No, that's it.
He's definitely has a wide range. Like I wasn't a fan. Like I remember him from Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
So like I remember him from that. So like when he tries to do something else, it's like, no, you're just. I know you're trying to be John Wick right now, but you're from Bill and Ted.
I like him in John Wick, and like I like him in action movies. He's good at that. And like he was in a couple of movies. He was in a movie with Winona Ryder, and he's in a couple other things or whatever. Like he's good, but not everything's good.
Is he Canadian?
He's Canadian as shit. He got awarded a one-day contract with Spitfire.
I don't like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
You don't have to like anybody really. Yeah.
Has he been in any horror movies? I wonder.
Probably maybe, I don't know.
I feel like he has.
He's in what the fuck movie is it?
Maybe thrillers.
He's in Constantine.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that's like one of my. I do enjoy that movie, but I like that story. I mean, same idea. Like he's a good John Wick.
Right.
But I like that.
He's also in Knock Knock, which is a thriller.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah, Constantine's pretty cool. Like that. I mean, that's the kind of horror like that's based around religion. You know what I mean? Like it's very Catholic religion oriented kind of thing, which was a big thing in the 90s too. Like
Stigmata thing
and all that stuff. Yeah, like Stigmata is one of my favorite movies. Like horror in terms of that genre of horror, where it's more like thriller horror, I guess, or whatever. I don't know, whatever that is. But yeah, that's a good movie actually.
When did the Grudges and the Ring start coming out?
Like early, like I want to say, like probably 99, 2000 ish, like somewhere in that. Because there was like all the Scream kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff was a little bit before that kind of thing, like right before 2000. Because we were like 14 or whatever when it came out, kind of thing, like 13, 14 when it came out. And then it started to transition more into like tech horror, almost like the Ring and stuff.
Oh,
you know, like that kind of stuff or whatever, like that. I don't know, like Japanese kind of horror movies, like very similar to like because I mean the Ring is originally a Japanese movie. So it's kind of like that vibe for a little bit, but then when Saw came, it like changed everything.
Oh yeah.
For
early
2000s horror kind of thing. And I mean the first one is really good. Like I don't know, I really like it because it's low budget and it looks that way, but in a good way.
I know. I feel like they really like kept it at the first one. It was like it had staying power. It was creepy AF. And I think that it could have had like a really cool like cult classic kind of vibe to it, but they almost overdid it again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, that franchising thing, eh? I mean,
like the first two aren't so bad, right? Because you kind of got a little bit more of the story, and it was a little bit bigger production, but not crazy. Like it still kind of had a good vibe, but yeah, I mean now it's like Saw 36, whatever, fucking, it's too much. Like
at least
too
9
much.
for sure.
And it got really gory too, right? That was kind of like the next move in horror movie was like super gore kind of stuff, like Hostel and Saw, and like even like Human Centipede started, like shit like that started to come out, and like just it started to get really.
Movie, Kill Bill was really gory too.
Yeah.
Not a horror movie, but more of a thriller, but really gory.
Oh yeah, but it was like that was very much like almost like comic booky, like you know what I mean, like it. I don't know. It doesn't have that realistic
Saw, thing or whatever. Saw for me really hit the nail on the psychological, like putting myself in their shoes and being like, oh my god, like, and talk about anxiety, fucking ramp it up through the roof, like
that opening sequence is nuts in the first one. Like the first time you see that, it's like,
you know, having to chop your own leg off or whatever it is, or falling in a pit of needles.
The pit of needles one was gross too. I didn't like that the first time around. It's like, oh my god.
I had a really hard time with Saw. I saw it in theaters, and kind of like hid between the seats for most of the movie. I did that with Paranormal Activity too. I don't know why, but that movie freaked me out.
I don't know. There's something about those ones that like they're good. Like it's not that they're not good, because that's not the point of it. It's just there's something about it I can't get into. Like
do you find it almost not believable? Because that's what that's the feedback I get about them a lot, is they're not very scary because they're not believable. But for me, that shit is freaky.
the premise of it is like the idea that like I'm into the idea of the poltergeist type or whatever you want to, you know, that kind of shit or whatever. I'm totally into that. Like, but there's something about those movies that they don't strike me at all. Like I watch them, it's like I'm watching, like it's not scary in any way to me for some reason. Just like it's not scary.
I think it was the first one and the second one that for me were really, really good. And then it just, again, same thing with too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right?
Yeah, and the first one was really good. Like I remember watching the first one.
Whichever one it is, where all the cupboard doors in the kitchen open, that shit freaked me out.
But it's creepy when you're home by yourself and something weird happens, and you can tell you can be 700-pound bodybuilder, whatever. There's nobody that can look me in the eye and tell me you're not lying. When you're home by yourself and something weird happens like that, like a weird creaky sound or something happens that's kind of stupid and weird, that they don't get super wigged out about that, because it's something weird has happened to everybody like that, I think.
That's the thing. Like you.
Well, I think that there's almost like that's exactly what is so scary about like the ghost and poltergeist idea is like, yeah, you could be, you know, jacked and have your 16 firearms in the basement, but like that's not going to save you from a ghost who wants to fuck you up. So
no, it's weird, right? There's a whole different vibe to that stuff.
Yeah, so it might not come across on film as good, but if you were exactly if you were in your kitchen, you turned around, you knew your cupboard doors were closed, you turn around and they're all open, like you'd be like, what the fuck?
What the fuck is right?
Yeah. But maybe it doesn't come across on screen as much as like a slasher kind of thriller.
Yeah, it doesn't have that as impactful. There's something about the security camera part of it. Like if it was kind of like a Shining thing, not necessarily like in that, you know what I mean, that kind of thing, but like a shot in a different way, maybe. I don't know. Something about all these, like, I wasn't into all that kind of stuff. Like when they started, like, you know, it's coming from the security camera. It's these funny angles and like throwing in all these kind of tech stuff. Like same thing with The Ring, like coming out of the TV and stuff. Like I don't know, it didn't do much for me in those ways. But then like I got really into, but I did really get into like all the weird like religion horror thriller movies that were out at the time. Like I really got into that,
like the possession kind of stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like especially what was it? Oh my god, something about Emily Rose or whatever it is, like, and like the like
Exorcism,
as like the Exorcism of Emily Rose, but there's a couple more before that too that kind of came out in a similar idea or whatever. But like the Exorcist is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I love that. I love that type of horror, like based on, you know, these kind of like hidden biblical things that, you know, only the Vatican knows or whatever, like these type of things and all that kind of stuff. Like I found
leave
that
it
really
to the Catholics.
Leave it to the boys. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about that I found really intriguing. It was interesting. Like there was a lot of history, same idea. There's a lot of stuff to research about it and find out. Whatever, I was interested at that at the time too, because that's what I wanted to study at one point with religion.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I found those really good, and I kind of got on that.
I like about, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, keep going. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's kind of what I like about like witches and witchcraft is there's a lot of like history. Like look at Salem, Massachusetts. But there's a lot of history and like folklore or like indigenous tales as well as part of like the witchcraft and wizardry, or not wizardry, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of why I like it. So I'll kind of on that same wavelength of the religious stuff is there's also like a really cool research side to it that I like.
Yeah, so I wonder, the witches thing is interesting to me, right? Because some people even to this day claim to be witches.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm super into it. I'm not a witch, but I'm super into it.
She's a witch.
Have you guys talked to the lady or been to Beneath the Witch's Hat over in Patterson?
No, she's right by my house. I walk by it all the time. I haven't got in there yet. I've been trying to, but every time I go by, it's not open or whatever. I just haven't. I kind of miss her every time.
What's
my kid wants to go in there.
What is it? What is it about?
So she's got like a curios store, right? So you can go in there and like buy kind of more of like the hokey mainstream stuff, like Harry Potter wands, essential oils, that kind of stuff. But then she also like legitimately mixes potions and has like salves, and she brings mediums in. My daughter was dealing with anxiety and bullying, and we went in there and she gave her this thing that's called a worry stone. So it's like this really flat stone that you put in your pocket, but she has to bless it because she's a witch.
Oh wow.
So she blessed it for her, and then what it is you carry it around in your pocket, and anytime that you're having anxiety or feeling bad, you just rub your worry stone, and it'll make you feel better. And then if at any point you lose your worry stone or your worry stone doesn't seem to be working anymore, it's because it's full and it's time for a new one.
Okay.
That's cool.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
It was really cool. I thought it was like, even if it's a placebo thing.
Oh, whatever, yeah. Whatever works. But yeah, no, I'm gonna take Rita. He'll like that. He'll think that's freaking wicked.
Yeah.
He loves shit like that.
I'm gonna go look for a wealth stone.
Yeah, I'll take 2.
Oh, that stuff exists. That stuff exists.
I'd be
But yeah,
shining that one right up.
You need 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. Boy, those rocks are so shiny.
They're so
Where
shiny.
do you get those?
Just grinding them in the sand.
Yeah.
You got a callus on your thumb
Just be
from
so
just
smooth.
rubbing away.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's wicked. That is wicked.
Yeah. Well, I'll give anything a try.
Yes, you might. Well, frig, man. Whatever. Like I say, even if it's just placebo, speaking it out in the world or whatever way you want to put it, it makes things happen. That's just how it
She's
works.
also
So-
just fun to talk to. She's quite the
Cool.
character.
I imagine, yeah. So I'm going to go because it's right next to my house. Because like I say, I walk by her 1,000 times, and every time it's like I miss her every time, or I'm not going by at the right time or something.
Huh.
But I'm going to check that out, especially now that I know that.
That's
Because Reed will think that's friggin' wicked. He'll be in there friggin'. I'll have a house full of stones now. Because he loves that.
Yeah, Olivia quite likes it too. She's 10 and thinks it's very cool.
and Harry Potter wands.
Yeah, he got a wand.
Yes.
One of my buddies made
He
him a
loves those
wand. He
too.
loves that.
Also in the witch's realm, I believe. Right? Yeah, but when kind of sorcerer, kind of
Yeah.
wizard, witches. I don't know if there's witches, but there's wizards, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
so
is.
in
A
the
lot of
Harry
those.
Potter in the Harry Potter book series and the movies, the females are called witches.
Okay. Yeah. See, I know. I didn't
Ron's
watch
got-
them all for nothing.
Ron's got it. He got it. He got
I
it.
was paying attention, I swear.
That's a movie I never really got into for some reason. Same thing. I think it just came out at the wrong time for me, kind of thing, or something. Missed me.
The first few books came out like when I was in my like scholastic book fair years. So everything was Harry Potter, and this was before the movies. So like it was super popular just as a book series when I was a kid. And so when the movies came out, I think I was like, I might have been in high school. I might have already graduated school. So to me, it was always the book series that I really, really loved. And even to this day, I like the book series more than the movies. But for a book series that was turned into a movie series, they did a very good job.
Yeah, generally people enjoy the books more. I don't know. I think you can use your own imagination, right, and fit
Yeah.
and fit it exactly the way you want to see it. So people are disappointed when they see the movie.
That's what I find a lot, especially if I read the book first. Like if it comes out and then all of a sudden they make a movie or whatever way it works out, I'm like, it never really. I don't know. Doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah,
I agree.
My fiance is into Stephen King novels right now, and anytime she'll finish one, and if there is a movie, we'll fire up the movie and watch it. And she's like, "Oh no, I didn't really see it like that," or whatever. And so, yeah,
I agree with that statement. I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't. I have a hard time with that. Same thing, and it's going to sound maybe or maybe not controversial, but Lord of the Rings is like that for me. I'm not a giant fan necessarily. I really like the books, and I've read them a couple times, and I'm good. But
yeah.
the movies weren't.
I'm not into either one.
Yeah,
And people
not
look at me
spectacular as they were.
sideways when they say that. Like, what?
Yeah. I get it with the movies for sure. Like the books, like people can't understand when you don't, because there's a lot to like just describing rocks and shit. Like it gets really crazy, and I don't mind that. That's fine for some reason because it's a book. I don't know. Like it's giving me more mental visualization or whatever. But as for the movies, I'm like I don't mind them. I'm not going to turn them off if somebody wants to watch them or something. But like it's like whatever. Doesn't do anything for me that way.
They're very Halloween to me too. Like the movies we watch during Halloween. We used to watch them at Christmas time, and I said to my husband, I'm like, why do we feel like Harry Potter is a Christmas movie? So we moved it into the fall a little bit, and now we watch them in the fall with our daughter usually. I think we're on the third movie now.
Nice,
Oh, that's awesome.
nice. Yeah,
I think it's at some point this year I'd watch them all as well in succession.
you did, yeah, because you were telling me about it. At one
Yeah,
point there.
yeah. It's not bad. I kind of like it, but I mean, for Lord of the Rings, I think the movies are just way too long. It's like I don't really have.
Yeah, you almost have to watch them in 2 parts.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of movies, especially like a lot of it, like what you watch is extended releases now, even still, because now it's like over 4 hours or at the 4 hour mark, even like. Oh, that's a lot of fucking.
It's a lot of.
It's a lot of stuff,
That's
man.
a lot.
There's a lot, and the funny part is like the
also a
movie
lot
can
of
end like within
time
10
at that
seconds
point.
if you watch the first episode or first clip or whatever. They could just fly off on the fucking birds or whatever, and they'd be done with. But it's a whole thing. But yeah, it's funny. But like I say, I don't know. The books are really good because, like I say, the detail is good in the books because you're reading it. Like
Right.
I like that. But in the movie, it was like this is not doing
Right.
a whole lot for me.
This is another side quest we're on here now. Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
But I'll bring it back around now because I did watch a movie that Lindsay suggested. I did get it. I did watch it. The Henry Lee Lucas American Criminal.
Oh, you watched it. Good job.
Because I like those. And to be fair, it was not what I expected because Michael Rooker's in it, which was like, first I was like, well, this is going to be good regardless. So Michael Rooker was in it. Yeah, really cool. I mean, it's it's based on real events or wwhatever you want to say, but like the movie was crazy. It's been a long time since I watched a crazy like 80s horror, like murder movie. It's good.
So yeah, Henry Lee Lucas is who that movie's about. He's from Virginia. He's was quite famous in his time. The media kind of colored him a little bit as a serial killer, and he actually confessed to like hundreds of murders, which they found out later that he didn't actually commit that many, but he was still like charged originally with like 189 murders or something crazy like that.
That's a lot. I knew, he was a little bit crazy where he would just take credit for everything, even though they knew he didn't didn't do it.
Weird, eh?
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, he's actually like in criminology and investigation. He's like a case study that people do in like why serial killers want to be involved in their crimes, why they like come back to the scene of the crime, why they want the notoriety, why we shouldn't put their names and faces on TV, because it makes the problem worse. And then also you get these kinds of things where you've got false confessions, which unfortunately then kind of puts a damper on the actual investigation, because you think you've got the person who did it, come to find out 10 years later, if you had kept digging, it would have been somebody else. Right. So that's also really unfortunate as well, is that he's also like to blame for a lot of cases being unsolved.
Right, yeah, because it kind of just puts an end to further investigation. You want to some I'm sure some stations or jurisdictions of police just say, "Yep, he did it," and then move on to the next thing. But really, that's not helpful for anybody.
Yeah, especially closure-wise, like for families. Like, I mean, I guess if you don't know any better, I suppose you know what I mean. But yeah, for him just to go around kind of confessing to everybody's murder is a bit interesting.
Well, I think closure-wise, too, like, isn't it devastating that you think you've got the guy, justice has been served, he's behind bars, and then you find out, however long of an amount of time later that, no, actually, that's not the person who hurt or killed your family member.
Yeah.
That's almost worse, because you did think that, there was a conclusion, and now there's not.
Yeah, it's almost like, takesy-backsies, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Right, like, yeah, no, it's devastating.
And, of course, the media sensation-wise.
Oh,
so that didn't help.
Yeah, well, that is part of the problem, and I mean, like the movie's brutal to watch. Like when you're watching some of the stuff that's going on, and like the incestual kind of relationship that's going on there, and everything else. It's like, holy shit, man, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that portion of it. I mean, that's only just a portion of it, and like his style was kind of just random people or people he met and didn't. It seemed like he just didn't want anybody to know who he was. So as he was moving, he was just killing people and stuff like that. Like. Yeah, weird. And I mean, how do you know? And especially at that time, like you could get away with that kind of stuff. Like, especially when they go and like kill the guy underneath the bridge there and stuff like that. Like that wouldn't happen now. I mean, there'd be cameras. There'd be like 400 cameras looking at you. You'd never be able to do that now. Like you could get away with that at that point in time. Like, yeah, it's crazy to see it now. Like, because I haven't watched a movie like that in a long time, or heard, really paid attention to a story that old in a long time. It's like, holy man, you would never get away with that stuff now. Like, holy cow.
As part of like podcast research, I can't remember the source now. I wish I could, but I was reading a story about how actually, like, on your point, Sam, of there being more cameras and it's less likely that you're not going to get seen. The amount of like homeless homicides that are happening has actually gone down because it's going to be on camera somewhere. You kill somebody on the street and some guy across the street, his apartment building's got a Ring camera on it, right? So kind of that like really random crime that happens, outside isn't happening as often anymore. Not to say that it doesn't, because it still surely does. But yeah, it's an interesting point.
Yeah, everyone's got a camera in their pockets, and
it's a lot harder to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Can't just get away with a murder anymore, guys.
You can't just go around murder people.
Well, the other thing too is like on that point too, you also have like a digital footprint. right? So
yes, exactly.
even if it's not on camera, I know you were in the area because you pinged off this cell tower.
That's right, folks. Ditch the phone, folks.
Yeah, if you want to go murder,
And that's why
you
they
gotta
say
put your
like
phone
the
down.
serial killer thing.
Do not condone
That's
it.
why they say the serial killer thing was a lot more like prevalent in the 80s and 90s was because you didn't have a digital footprint. You could just disappear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you think about like prior to that, like all these people that kind of would like, you know, the train kind of people, you know, like they would be murdering people along the way or whatever. They were kind of like homeless transient people, whatever we want to put it, following the railway and taking people out, jumping on train. You know, I'm Bob. Cool, right? Like you know, how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know? How you know anything? Right? It's crazy. But yeah, no, it was a really good movie though. I will say that. Like, I will give him. It was very
well
brutal,
done. It's
very well
disturbing.
done. Oh yeah, it's definitely disturbing. It was very well done. But it was good. It reminded me of like you know, stuff I've watched when it sounds weird or whatever, but like stuff I watched when I was younger or whatever. Like going back to watch all those old movies. It was cool.
It's just insane, that digital footprint thing. Like that kind of in a way has changed the landscape of horror movies, I think, because what people see on the screen is like, well, that's not believable because he'd have a cell phone and he'd have this and he'd have that, right? So you have to develop horror movies in such a way now where it kind of fits in with this day and age where, you know, unless you know, just make a movie about, okay, this was in 1982, but like if you wanted to make anything recent, you have to kind of adapt to all those things that are in real life, wouldn't you? Like,
oh yeah, like the technology plays a part in the story kind of thing in a way.
I guess.
Or it makes you rearrange the story in such a way that it makes more sense, you know what I mean, when it wouldn't be like, oh, he would just call or whatever, right?
Like like you said, you would just know that he was in that area at the time, so case closed, right? No good movie. So I guess I would have to change things over.
Yeah, I mean, not to be like super cheesy or anything like that, but with TV shows now, like you look at something like Riverdale, which is again one of those kind of like, it's not a movie, but it's like a teen kind of version of a thriller / horror. There is some like of that psychological kind of thing, or you look at Pretty Little Liars. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but kind of same thing. They have like a stalker sort of that texts them from like unknown numbers, hacks into their computers and stuff like that. And so it's like an interesting kind of retelling almost of older stories, but in like a newer age way. They can be a little cheesy, of course. I mean, any teen kind of movie or TV show is always a little cheesy. But yeah, like on your point, I think that's kind of why I like the older stuff, is because it's almost easier to watch it and believe that it's happening. Whereas the newer stuff, you're kind of like, well, I mean, you wouldn't really get away with that. And you'd be able to go to the cops and track the person and IP addresses and stuff like that. It doesn't seem as believable.
Yeah. DNA has come a long way since then.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah. Like, it's just different motive. Yeah. It was just interesting watching that. Like, pulls over on the side of the road, flips his hood up, stops the first car, gets out, but he jumps out, lights him up with a gun. Like, you know, just gets in the car and drive away. Like, that would never happen.
Yep.
Like, it would never fly. It'd be like 20. You wouldn't even get down the road 10 minutes, and someone would be already all over you. Yeah. They'd have what's his license plate? Where's he driving? Get the satellite. Yep. You know what I mean? It would just be like ding, 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 ding.
Well, his car probably had GPS in it, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah. It would just be...
Your OnStar is watching you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They can shut your OnStar down and have you.
Right there in the road.
Disable your car. Yeah.
Suspect is at XYZ.
Have either of you ever watched the show Mindhunter on Netflix?
Yes.
That's a really good,
I think I started watching it at one point, but I think I only got a couple episodes maybe or something. I can't remember now.
So
I know
it's casted really well too, not necessarily with like known people, but just the way the casting director like matches the actual look of the person. It's actually really creepy. It almost makes it again like more believable. But yeah, Mindhunter is one of my favorites.
So yeah, it's a TV show on Netflix that kind of sadly got cut too soon.
Oh, it's one
but
of those.
It kind of they two detectives and they interview serial killers, and like there's a different serial killer almost every episode or whatever. And I haven't seen it in a while, but you guys talking about that movie you watched kind of reminded me of that show, and it's definitely something to get into. Yeah, they have a Charles Manson episode and John Wayne Gacy. I think that's what I
know is that one. I think
Gacy episode, and
I thought it was done by season, wasn't it?
Yeah, is it Is it by season? I'm not even sure. I thought it was only 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think it's like season to season, it's a different
Oh, I see what you
character
mean. I see
or
what you
different.
Okay. Maybe
I feel like. Hang on, look into that.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different show.
It's been a while since I've watched it.
I'll have to do a recap.
Sharpened up. Got to get sharpened up on that. I remember seeing the thing, and I remember a lot of people saying like it's really good.
I believe, yeah. I believe even Charles Manson was just in the last episode, and they never really got into him because the show just stopped. It might have only been like 1 or 2 seasons.
It says 2 seasons, I think is what it says here.
I thought they had
2 seasons, 19 episodes per season.
Did you guys watch Dahmer?
Yes.
I haven't watched that yet. That's one thing I've been meaning to watch, and I haven't watched it because like my girlfriend kind of likes that stuff, but probably wouldn't watch Dahmer. Just like it's not really her thing. I don't feel like. So
and
just
like
haven't squeezed that one in yet.
It's pretty graphic.
Yeah. I do want to see it because like I'm interested. Like I remember because what was the used to come on A&E. It was like true crime something or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, it was like basically profile murderers every week or whatever. And I remember watching that, and that was like I remember that was where I first got my introduction to Dahmer and all these people, and then kind of took it from there or whatever. But like I was really big deal at one point. I used to watch that a lot when I was younger.
Have you watched the new Lyle and Eric Menendez one? Because that's the same producer. Like it's the same production.
The brothers. No, I've seen the.
There's an older documentary about him on Tubi maybe or something like that. I can't remember, but I've watched that one. But I think it's the same one that came on A&E because there used to be a lot of that stuff on A&E at one point.
Yeah, if it's in the same style as the Dahmer one, I would probably check it out for sure. I enjoy like long series,
a dramatic retelling. But the 2 men that they casted as Eric and Lyle Menendez, like. I've been talking about this now for like since it came out. They do such an incredible job. The acting is impeccable. And then Javier Bardem plays their father.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so like it's a pretty great cast. Nathan Lane is in it. But yeah, I binged it and then I binged it again already, and it's only been out for like a week and a half. It's good.
I'll have to watch that then.
Yeah,
because I do find that an interesting story they're kind of like because they're kind of like a 90s pop culture thing too, because like not only was it just like like what they did or whatever, but like they were captured in a trading card that became kind of popular, like in that Jordan card they're in the background or whatever. And what was the other
basketball game?
There's a couple like they're kind of like I don't know, there was all these kind of weird pop culture moments around them for some reason, and like they're stuck in pop culture.
And their dad actually, like, he worked for RCA Records, which at the time was representing like a lot of the bigger names, and so that's kind of where their like pop culture phenomenon came from. Was they were already kind of known because they had been seen, like you said, like at these basketball games, and they were living kind of an affluent lifestyle. And then they go and kill their parents, which was like, what happened, right? And the story's just awful. So
it is. It's interesting, but I think that's an interesting story. All the guys like, weird, but I do find that interesting.
Mark Jackson card.
That's it. Yeah, Mark Jackson. That's it. That's funny. But yeah, because that's like it's funny because it's like a very common card. Well, it was a very common card at one point that's become very expensive. Well, not very expensive, but expensive enough because they're captured in the background.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I might try and get that card.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Like it's an interesting one.
Seems weird, but
that's funny.
Maybe it's a good storytelling kind of one, right?
Yeah.
Hey, like
put her up on the shelf. And there it is.
That's right.
Got the Menendez bros in there looking at you.
NBA hoops. Yeah. That's all I need.
This is all I need. Another thing. That's all right. But I think we'll wrap this one up here. So
okay.
We'll because we'll be back again. We're going to do a 2-parter.
That's right.
And so we'll be back again next week with another spooky episode. But Lindsay, tell everybody again. That's right. So tell everybody again where they can find your podcast, the name, the whole thing, whatever.
Sure.
Plug your stuff.
So I'm a millennial, so I'm on Facebook. So Disturbing the Peace podcast. I'm the Orange Buffalo if you're looking for the logo. But of course, I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. And then I also am on Acast when you want to listen to the podcast. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all sorts of other places as well.
Excellent.
Awesome stuff. And again, we'll be back next week with another discussion with Lindsay, and it'll be
Another spooky theme.
Little spooky theme.
Yeah.
You'll get to see us in orange again. Ta-da. But thank you, Lindsay, for coming on, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. Great talking, and then definitely, it'll be fun next week as well.
Yeah. It's been another spooky episode of, and the year was 1985.
Has landed.